Hey internet, so this video I'll just talk about each character, what they do, should you wish for them, and yeah, so this will be a brief one though. So okay, we'll start off with Katia, highest DPS in the game for a limited character. She specializes in single target bosses. She has a skill that allows her to switch from single target rapid fire or explosion AoE. Her ultimate is like a tracking damage over time where arrows rain on the enemy. So she can't crit enemies, but she has no damage fall off, so that's a good trade-off. So she can't headshot enemies. However, she can fire pretty much unlimited range, so she's kind of a sniper in a sense. Is she worth wishing for? Yes. So for her next rerun, if you don't have a DPS and you want a sniper-ish character, then she is your go-to. She doesn't use a sniper rifle, she uses a crossbow. Should mention that. Next up we have Haru. She is a close range character. As you can see, she uses a sword for her skill. So she specializes in clearing up mobs. So like mini AoE groups of monsters, that's what her sword does. It clears like small groups of monsters. Her ultimate is what she... basically it's like an inline cone AoE. So anything that's inline will be like cleared out. So it's an AoE inline damage ultimate. And she's a pistol user, so use the pistols that have high fire rate, not the slow fire rate. Is she a good pick? I think she's a good pick for clearing up mobs. Okay. Next up we've got Mauser. She's a support. So she can bind characters, and her support skill summons a voodoo doll, and you can damage the voodoo doll to damage the monster or boss. Is she a must pick? It depends. If you use sniper and shotgun a lot, then yes, because you'll need to take cover. So anytime when you need to fight a boss and like the boss is doing a lot of damage and you need to take cover, then having Mauser on the team is good. But if you can tank the damage or just kill the boss before it does a lot of damage, then Mauser's probably not needed. I would say she's a useful support for sure, but not a must pick. So far, Katia and Haru are probably closer to must picks, although not necessary. So we got Chen Xing. Her job is to clear out spread out monsters, but in a chain fashion. So she has chain lightning that when you shoot one like enemy, it jumps to the next enemy as well. So that's what her skill does. Her burst is just an AoE lightning strike. Burst, ultimate, whatever you call it. So she's, I guess, in the high tier as well. Definitely a high DPS, same with Katia, but probably at the moment like on the medium side. She does a lot of damage for sure, but not as much as Katia in terms of single target. In terms of mobs, she does clear mobs pretty well if they're spread out and you can use your chain. Alright, so Finny is a free-to-play 5-star. Her skill is just increases her fire rate, and her ultimate burst is basically it stuns for 1 second and then it does some electric damage over time, which is fine. Her specialty is to blast away armor. So shotguns like rip away armor. Same with pistol to an extent, not that good though. Alright, Finny. So that was Finny. This is Frisha. So her skill is just to group up enemies with a chain. like she throws a chain and then the chain wraps around the enemies. Her ultimate fires a lava laser beam. That's probably the best way to explain it. Her specialty is to mount armor. This is Yao Winter Solstice. So her job is just the main DPS. So her damage, even at the wrong weapon, so I'm using the Olympus, which is not the correct weapon for her. I do around about 160 to 500k damage using her ultimate. And you get 5 bullets, so that's like nearly, what's that, 2.5 million damage? If you're like lucky, I guess. So she requires skill because you need to hit those headshots. And yeah, highest free-to-play damage character in the game. For the highest damage so far, I would say probably Katya for limited. But as new characters are added, I guess the, what do you call it? The tier changes. So if you can hit the shots, then Yao is the best free-to-play DPS character. Okay, so her skill just amplifies her damage. Her support skill summons I guess flame rod, and it just stuns the character. Not the character, but the enemies. Like it lifts them up for 1 second. And her ultimate is just like deals a whole lot of damage. That's all I can say. Okay. However, if you're playing on mobile, which I don't think a lot of people are, but if you are, probably don't use snipers. Just go for shotgun. Alright, so the only must pick I would say which is Kaguya Acacia. Now she is a support, but she has a skill that reduces all resistances, which is pretty good. So by 24% all type resistances. So that's probably the only reason why she's a must pick. She also like groups up enemies as well. So she groups up enemies and also reduces all their resistances by 24%. So basically almost a quarter of their resistance is gone. So that works for both mobs and bosses. She's probably the only must pick I would say. You don't need her, but it does help clearing up like bosses a lot faster. Next up we've got Life Wild Hunt. So she uses drones, like fires missiles from these side arm things. So those like fire ice missiles. Apart from that, I would say she's probably on the lower end of the DPS. I would say she's more like a support DPS. She's like continuing firing with her icicle drones. So she's alright, but I think there are better DPS out there. So she may be good at slowing down and freezing enemies. So if you need a control support DPS, she's alright. But in terms of pure DPS, there are better characters out there. Alright, so we've only got 2 healers in the game. So one is Yao, Quiet Quitter, and we've got Chen Sing, the Observer. So these are the 4-star variants. So what's the difference between the 2 healers? So with Yao, her support skill will follow you, and Chen Sing's support skill is stationary. So they basically do the same, except it's her one's stationary and it's like at different intervals. Same with the drone that follows you, which also heals you at different intervals. So it depends on the situation. Having both is good, that way you can have 2 teams for 2 healers. So they haven't released a 5-star healer yet, So these two are the only healers in the game as of recording. So Yao is a sniper and Chinsing is assault rifle. It doesn't really matter too much because you never use them for combat anyways, you just have them for the healing. I think for Chinsing, her trap ability or trap skill is good for like electrical defense, so maybe like you got to prevent certain number of enemies from escaping. Maybe you would choose Chinsing over Yao. Yao, I guess her main job is just to heal. She's got like a damage boost, but I don't really use that one, to be honest. Alright, and then next up, I would say, is that Ceres or Cyrus? However you pronounce the name. Now, she's a close pick to a must pick, but not necessary. So if you're like fighting enemies that have a lot of incoming damage, so she provides a shield, she can summon a shield or barrier. So actually I need to clarify because there are different shields in the game. So there is like a body shield where you don't see it, and then she's got what do you call it, an actual physical shield that you can summon. So it's not the blue shield, that's what I'm trying to get at. So it's not the body shield, it is like a physical shield that you summon that blocks damage. So that's a different type of shield, but they call it shield all the same, which is a little bit confusing. But having a shielder is probably one of the most useful characters you can have. So I would say she's a pretty close must pick if you're dealing with a lot of heavy fire. Okay, and then now we're moving on to characters that I haven't built. Alright, so you've got Wednesday or Life Wednesday. So Wednesday's the code name and Life is the actual name. So she is your free to play character that you get at the start of the game. Should you use her? Yeah, why not? I mean, you get free manifestation, so if you're not wishing, which I guess most people will wish for characters, she's good for early game. And yeah, I mean, she's a drone user, so she summons electric drones, which is cool, I guess. Basically a weaker version of the 5-star version of Life. What can I say? Alright, and you get a 5-star Finny. She's okay. Again, you get her as a free to play. I think those are the only two characters that you get free to play. So, I mean, you get them for free. They're good for the early game, but I would probably swap them out as soon as you get better characters. So, would you use her? I would say if you got a 5-star Finny, then no. If you don't have a 5-star Finny, then she's still a pretty good shotgun user. So she can dash forward with her skill, and I think she like amps up her damage with her ultimate. Let me check. Sort of. It's a knockback. Okay. It's a little bit different. So we're moving on to characters that I haven't built and probably don't use. So this is a 4-star Marion, Queen of Pain. I think if you don't have like the other characters, other snipers, then sure, if you need a long range character. So she specializes in movement speed, and yeah, so her skill just increases damage. She's alright. I think her 5-star variant is better though. So we got 4-star Mauser. Seems like they summon the voodoo doll once again, but it's not the same. It's more like, I would say all the 4-star versions are similar to the 5-star, but they just do things a little bit differently. So, does summon the voodoo doll, but it's not the same, I guess. It's hard to explain. So, should you pick her? I think she's alright as a support. Now, while I haven't built Cherno, I do know what she does, and she can be a good 4-star DPS. So she summons this like phantom thing that follows like the enemy and attacks the enemy. So it's sort of like summoning a JoJo stand. If you watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I think that's the best way to explain what her abilities are. I would say she's a good 4-star DPS if you got no one else. Same with Acacia, 4-star. She's good for like, I guess, freezing enemies. And yeah, overall a good 4-star DPS. I just haven't used her because I've got 5-star characters. Now Marion Swift, just a sniper DPS. I would say if you don't like using Gal's playstyle, then Marion would be a good alternative. So her ultimate, it's more like a inline strike. So there is an argument to say, do you want Yao's one-hit shot? Well, not one hit, but very close to. Or do you want like an AoE inline cone ultimate? So it depends on the situation. I think they're both good DPS snipers. Alright, Nita, another shotgun character. Sadly, I do not use her, but she specializes in close range combat. She does do the spin thing, like with her arms. I think she's fine if you don't like using Finny. Freesia, I would say it's just like the 4-star lesser version of the 5-star. Does similar things, kind of melts armor. But yeah, I mean, she's okay if you don't have the 5-star. Basically does similar things, melts armor, and does AoE fire damage, or thermo. So Anya's good, I just haven't got around to building her. She is a pistol user that throws grenades. She's great. Only grenade character, I guess, so far. And the 4-star Haru, if you don't have the 5-star, you can use her. Very similar kit, I guess. Now I don't have Tess. Tess is your support sniper that gives you energy to other characters. Alright. So, I would say all the ones that I haven't built, like, you can probably get away and not have them. I would say the only 2 4-stars that are probably worth using are probably Cherno and Acacia. Maybe Anya. The rest are alright, like, they do their things, but the 5-star versions are just better. For like signature characters that don't have 4-star versions, like Katia, then yeah, she probably is your go-to. Basically, your 5-stars are your go-to, but the 4-stars do have some variants and they're okay. Alright, so we talked about what they do and what they're good at. The only characters I would recommend that you should wish for. So if you want to like take out enemies faster, get Kaguya, Acacia. Just because like that quarter damage boost or like resistance decreases the resistance by 24%. So that's basically like a quarter increase in damage, so that's the only must pick. In terms of DPS, pick whoever's your favorite. Whoever's the best looking. And yeah, I would say you only really need 2 DPS in a team. Like, no, I said that wrong. You need 1 DPS per team, you need 2 teams. That's what I'm trying to get at. So, why is that? The underground purge, you need 2 teams. So, let's say you've got that, you need 2 teams. So, 1 DPS for each side, and then 1 healer for each side. And you're good to go. Then your third slot, you can either leave it empty, or you can have a secondary support DPS. Okay. In terms of bosses, pick the highest damage dealing characters. Alright. So, in terms of signature weapons, the weapon banners are a scam. Like, because they copied Genshin Impact's weapon banner, which I wish they didn't. So, yeah, don't wish for the signature weapon banner unless you can afford it. Like, the 4-star weapons that they give you are good enough. For the high tier, like, high level, so for example, for your roguelike in-game, I would say like your 4-star weapon will just do the job for danger. So as long as you don't miss your shots, you got perfect dodge, you got perfect headshots, then yeah, then 4-star is doable. I mean, obviously you can miss some shots here and there, but like if you got a 90% accuracy, it's doable. That's all I gotta say. They designed it that way so they can sell with a weapon banner, but they do give you a 4-star weapon, and you can like upgrade it to tier 5, so it just becomes a 5-star weapon sort of anyways. Alright. I think if they give out like free to play 5-star selection characters, which they have in the past. So if you're playing on PC and you just want to one-shot characters, like one-shot enemies, just go for Yao. If you want to interplay between PC and mobile, pick Finny. Unless you don't like these two, then you can pick the other two. So Freesia is an armor mounter or armor stripper. No, not what I meant. She basically can mount away armor. Yeah, that's what I meant. So Life is a support DPS. If you like Life, that's cool. Marion, I would say it's a niche character. It depends what you need to do, because she does pretty good damage compared to Yao. Yao is the highest damage, but she does pretty good damage too. Now, you can select which 5-star on your standard wishes. So if you lose the 50-50, you can select one of them. So that's nice. Okay. I think those are my recommendations. So thanks for watching. Hope you had a great day. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, ring the bell, turn on all notifications. Become a member if you want to. Drop a super thanks if you want to. Until next time. See ya.